This is Puck Year, New Zealand's hockey podcast with hosts Logan Swinkles and Joe Jury, bringing you the best stories and interviews from Down Under.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into Puck Year podcast. Sorry we couldn't be with you last week. Joe was wrapped up with the America's Cup as part of the ACC's coverage, covering those two monstrous boats dueling it out on the harbour. He's back now. How's it going, buddy?
I'm good, and thank friggity frick that's over, because I did not give a shit about that, and now New Zealand goes back to not caring about yacht racing for 4 years.
Yeah, I know. It's weird, right? Like, it's just another one of those sports where New Zealand is like, yeah, we're awesome at it, and then the rest of the world is like, what is that?
Yeah, whatever. You guys can have it, sweet as.
You can have it, yeah. Busy week for me as well. Last week was actually my last week working at News Corp Australia, so you can imagine how hectic that is, and it's even more hectic now because we're all gearing up for the move back to New Zealand, which is we're flying out on Saturday. Well, we're recording this now on the Monday, and so yeah, not much time left to go. So it is the last one before I head into 2 weeks of quarantine, and then back on the other side. What totally just smacked my webcam. That's how excited I am about it. After that, I'm back in New Zealand. I can't wait to catch up with so many people and finally see some Kiwi hockey again. But Joe, what do we have on the podcast this week?
This week we catch up with a legend of the game about New Zealand's coaching development. The Mighty Ducks return this week, but there's another hockey show that we think you should or not should check out. And the BHL All-Stars have been announced, and I'm in it.
Yeah, I don't know how you managed to be an all-star coach. That's an interesting one there, but
I think Cam, well, just here's a teaser. Cam needed someone who can hand him beers and drink beers with him on the bench. So that's where I fill in pretty adequately.
Yeah.
Well.
A-grade all-star wingman. That's what you are, buddy. I love to hear that. Everyone, thank you for tuning in to the podcast once again. If you're brand new, thanks for checking us out. Make sure you subscribe to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Plus, we got our YouTube channel there, which you can, check out hockey highlights and our interviews. We're actually going to be doing a bit more live streaming once I'm back in New Zealand, which will be awesome. And we also have our Instagram and Facebook at PuckHereNZ. But first of all, before we get into our special interview, the Mighty Ducks game changes. It's arriving this week, Joe. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. There's been some good press come out about it this week, with that reunion of the original cast, which looked pretty cool. Missing a few characters, but there was a few good ones there. Adam Banks looks like a mix of a meth head and a like a commercial Wall Street banker or something. He's weird looking. Yeah. It was good to see Guy and
Connie,
that's right. Yeah. Connie's actually quite a famous actress now. But missing a couple like Joshua Jackson and Russ, which is a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, well, Russ Tyler is, as you know, is Kenan Thompson, who is probably maybe outside of Joshua Jackson, is out of all the Mighty Ducks, and of course, the guy who played Fulton is in the DC universe now. But, Kenan Thompson, massive career, of course, across Nickelodeon, and then now SNL, who's basically the wallpaper at SNL, and he's still going strong. So I imagine he probably can't commit to too much outside of that, but who knows? We might get more. The one that I really want is Julie the Cat Gaffney. She was my favorite character.
We all want Julie to come back. Everyone wants to know what Julie's been up to and if she's still as hot as she was when we were kids back in the day.
She's still dealing to those Icelandic boys and keeping them in check. That's what I always loved about that. Didn't take any shit from anyone. She was just total boss girl, and of course, awesome in there as well. So that is starting on Disney Plus this week. Can't wait. We will be hopefully doing some, reviews and stuff. Me being in isolation, kind of depends on the quality of the internet, and so I guess we'll see once I'm in in the hotel, wherever it may be. I might be in Auckland. I could be in Rotorua. I could be in Hamilton. I could be in Wellington. I could be in Christchurch. We just don't know yet, and I don't know how good the internet will be. But if it's good enough, I think we'll definitely do some reaction shows because, I mean, this is like the highlight of the year for us, man. Like Mighty Ducks finally making the return. Of course, the big thing when all those photos from Entertainment Weekly came out, everyone had the same line. Do you feel old yet? Did you feel old when that came out?
I had about 7 different people that sent me that, and I was just like, oh, that it does make you feel so old when you're looking at these kids that you basically grew up in. There's a lot of guys that attribute it to them getting into hockey, and I'm probably one of those. The original movie, and now to see them like, the dude with glasses with like a massive receding hairline and looking like some kind of weird lawyer.
Averman.
Oh,
in one of those photos, he looks like he still can't skate 30 years on.
Yeah, so that'll be exciting. Is it 1 episode a week? Are they drip feeding it to us, or do we get to binge it?
To be honest, I think we are getting it kind of Mandalorian styles or like everything else that's on Disney Plus at the moment. It is weekly, which is great. I don't want to binge watch it. I want it to be something that I look forward to every week. But I haven't really seen a lot around that, if it is all going out or if it is just, week by week episode drops. I guess we'll find out.
You've got 2 weeks in isolation, so you need to drip feed anything. Otherwise, you're just going to watch everything in the first week, 2 days, and you'll be done.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. We are loading up the iPads with TV shows. Finally getting around to the most recent season of Letterkenny, so definitely going to make sure I finish that. Plus The Walking Dead, which I have to watch with headphones now and away from the eyes of baby Madison so she doesn't get scared shitless by zombies.
Yeah.
But we mentioned before about another show. This is one that my wife Sarah actually brought to my attention. It's on Netflix now, called Zero Chill. Make sure you check out the trailer because you need to see it to know what we're really talking about here. But Joe, I sent you that trailer. It's another hockey series coming out, but it's mixing figure skating, and it doesn't look good. No,
and I spent like the entire trailer trying to figure out if the 2 main characters were boyfriend and girlfriend. It was so confusing, and then it turns out that they're twins. It's like, wow, that's totally changed the narrative for me in this whole show because that goes down a whole other angle. But the guy, like the main guy, gets a scholarship to go. He's American, to go to the UK and play hockey, and the hockey looks terrible. How he's getting a scholarship and playing with people who can't even skate is weird. But why would an American go to the UK on some kind of scholarship?
Yeah, right. I mean, because we would know of it. It says in like the description, a prestigious hockey academy. So you'd think, okay, you might go to somewhere in Canada, especially maybe like in Ontario, or you might go somewhere in Europe, or even a hockey academy in the US, which I guess that's probably the whole idea of leaving the life behind and going overseas. But still, the plot line of the series, it just doesn't make sense. I definitely do want to check out a couple of episodes, give it a shot. It's okay. So we've seen plenty of the Mighty Ducks Game Changers, right? And it looks cheesy, but it's like a good kind of cheese, right? Like it's warm, it's gooey, it's comforting.
It's a mozzarella. It's a mozzarella on a pizza.
My favorite cheese.
Yeah, it's not a stinky blue smelly one.
Like or a Gouda.
Yeah, like this thing is. It looks terrible.
it really does. The
thing about this, and I'm going to get angry about it, is we were looking it up before, and you said it's number 8 on Netflix in Australia.
Yeah.
People watching this shit program, this is going to put hockey back like 15 years because they think, this ice hockey is so lame. It's so terrible.
Yeah.
Also, why is this guy dating his sister? It's kind of weird. So I think we need to scrub this off the internet and get Mighty Ducks up there more and more like, I don't know, Ice Guardians documentaries or following the Amazon Prime show that's following the Leafs at the moment. We need to get those on the forefront.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait for the day when that comes out, which is still a long time away. So yeah, as Joe said, make sure you give the Mighty Ducks a chance when it drops on Disney Plus. Check out Zero Chill if you want. I don't know if you're looking for something bad to watch. We assume it's bad. It looks terrible. It could actually be really good. You never know. But the thing that really threw me off is under genres, it said British, and then I was like, a British show about hockey? I was like, that's what got me intrigued. And then I was like, all right, we'll watch the trailer. And I was like, they're all Americans. And then I was like, oh, okay, he's going to the UK. I was like, well, that doesn't really make it a British show, Netflix. But hey, never mind. Check it out if you want to. Yeah, but I mean, there's plenty of entertainment coming our way. And, we had some awesome news just today, actually, Monday. The New Zealand Ice Hockey Federation announced their Champions Cup game featuring the Ice Blacks and under 20s and under 18 national teams all playing each other under the new Triple Star program. So it's like this men's camp that's taking place at Dunedin Ice Stadium next month. Unfortunately, it's happening like the week after I get out of ISO, and like the Federation was really keen for us to go down and like cover it. And I was like, I'm kind of going to be in the midst of trying to find a house and trying to find a job. So unfortunately, can't make it for that one. There's a women's camp happening later in the year, Queen's birthday weekend, which definitely down for. We'll definitely be there for that. But one person, we teased it earlier, he is a total legend of the game in New Zealand, as I alluded to in the start of this interview. Darren Blong, anyone who follows this podcast and is an Admirals fan will recognize that name. I know you'll recognize it, Joe. He's now the NZIHF coaching director as well.
Yeah, he's a great man, and his number hangs in the rafters of Paradise in Avondale, and I think New Zealand hockey would not be in the position that it is, and the amount of like kids being able to get into the game without Darren and his support of the rinks, really. So.
Yeah, that Blong family, just a huge impact on hockey, especially in the Auckland area. But we had him on. I chatted to him recently to talk about this Triple Star program, mainly to find out what that even is, what their aspirations are for it, and what they're hoping to achieve in the near future from initiatives like that men's and women's camp. So stick around. Joe and I will be back to keep the banter going after the interview. Joining Puck Here Podcast now is a bit of a legend in the game. Really, you recognize the name if you've heard it before. Darren Blong. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us, mate. Of course, now you're with the NZIHF as a coaching director, and a lot of really awesome things coming into play. The main one we're hearing about at the moment is the Triple Star program. Can you run us through like what that is and why the NZIHF brought that in?
Yeah, sure, Logan. I mean, thanks for having us on here too. Anytime to talk about player development and keeping people in the sport's always a good use of time. I suppose Triple Star, the program, is sort of over time has come to this point. Essentially, Triple Star is a combination for the males and females at the national team levels for under 18s and with the men's under 20s and the Ice Blacks, obviously the women's with under 18s and Ice Ferns to get together and obviously have a camp. And it's also a meeting of minds and coaches and whatnot, and sort of just also a really good opportunity to build relationships and I suppose lay the track to where the pathway is for younger players and what the role of the current national team players might be in part of that, but Triple Star is sort of a real exciting program that's been put together, but there's quite a lot of groundwork that's gone in, over a number of years to get us to this point. And I suppose, if you want me to continue around that sort of stuff, Logan?
Yeah, mate. I mean, this is all really interesting. Like it's new, I think, to a lot of us. And we're sort of over the last couple of months, we're really hearing a lot from the NZIHF about the wanting to really push player development, keep people in the game. So I mean, anything that you guys are doing to really help boost those stocks there. We would love to hear more about it.
Yeah, so I think to start with, I'd like to give a bit of a shout out to, there's a lot of people over a very long period of time that I've been belonged to the game or been part of the game that have contributed these ideas actually. And for whatever reason, there's never really been a full synergy of the coaches, players, and administrators sort of working sort of on a needlepoint sort of focus to really drive the game. And you sort of touched on it, Logan. You mentioned about youth and about getting people in the game, and more importantly, keeping them in the game. And I suppose a number of years ago, obviously got into coaching when I was about 22 in an ad hoc kind of way. And as I've got older and no longer play and have a daughter who plays, etc. I've taken that path like many people, starting at Learn to Play, and also had a little stint with the Admirals there for about 3 years, which was really enjoyable. But during that time, in having a meeting of minds with coaches that I was working with at that time, it was really abundantly clear that we had this National League going, which was really strong, but we had some challenges down below that at the youth level, and a lot of those challenges were around retention. Cutting to the chase, really, like currently the under 20. National team is ranked 47th out of 47th in the world in IIHF groupings, and we've struggled at times to actually field a team. And so over that time, it became really clear what we needed to do was really have a clear focus with youth players from obviously Learn to Play. But what happens after that? Where do they go? And what happens, So there's some really cool initiatives that have happened that are getting run out through the country. We've got Super League, which is under 12. But what we've been doing for the last 4 years, Logan, is running youth development camps, really focusing on underage youth players all around the country. Now, initially, these camps had run previously with some really good coaches, but it had stopped and start for many, many reasons. And so I think the challenge that we faced was, like, can we make this work and be viable for a number of years? And we're about 4 or 5 years into it. And what we've found is, when we might have gone to Christchurch or anywhere around the main centres, we may have had 30 to 20 people turn up. Well, now we're getting 80. That's not uncommon. Get 100 in Auckland is not uncommon. And more importantly than that, Logan, we get a lot of coaches. We're getting a lot of buy-in, volunteering their time, I might add. No one's getting paid here. And also, tagged with that is a lot of people that are volunteering their time as administrators and managers to make these things happen. Because when you have 80 kids or players, it's probably 120 people involved to make that happen, And so that's a credit to all the volunteers out there that donate their time. And I suppose over that time, what's the next step, And so Triple Star has really come out of that from a lot of discussions over a good meal and a few beers, and a lot of people have contributed to making this happen. So it's exciting because obviously COVID's given us a little bit of breathing space, no IIHF, and at least this year. And the plan is to get it out for the men in April, starting the 16th for a 2.5-day camp, and the women Queen's birthday in June. And then over time, what we'll do is probably move that a little bit later in the season so we can do it once a year.
It's really great to see. One thing that I'm seeing with players that have come through the ranks, they've been around for a long time, and this includes imports that have come into the NZIHL, made a bit of a lifestyle for themselves and have stayed. I'm talking about the likes of like Dean Tonks, Justin Daig, AJ Spiller, and Matt Schneider down in Queenstown as well, to name a few. And then you got New Zealand guys. I think Bradley Apps is starting to put his hand up as well for coaching. So it's really cool to see that we're seeing those kind of guys. Would you say that New Zealand? I mean, from an outsider perspective, I've kind of always seen it as the same few names kind of circling around, but now it seems like we're getting like a glut of coaching, which is really great to see. So where do you think the kind of quality of hockey coaching in this country is heading?
Okay, so I mean, if you're going to get more players, and to sort of touch on that a little bit, in 2018, I think we had a touch under 1,500 players, and right now we just have a touch under 2,000. So there's been significant growth. And probably more importantly, we can show figures that we're not losing players, especially players under 20 in the last 2 years, which is vitally important. I mean, competition comes from obviously numbers, and the more we can do that, the better. So, and to your point around coaching, we're building coaching capacity. And I suppose the really organic thing that's happening with these camps is we are getting people always signing up coaches, that is, to come and help. And so it's a cathartic kind of situation where we're learning on the go, we're working with each other, we're making adjustments, and what we're doing is we're building capacity. And so where I see it going is that we're going to put a bit more structure behind that. And I suppose the names you've mentioned have all been helping at these camps. Either at least one, if not 3 or 4 of these years. Paris Hyde comes to mind as another big contributor. And so what we want to do really is build that sense of community so that it's sustainable. So when old people like me move on, that it just really gets better. And I suppose if we're trying to leave a legacy of stuff, that's really the challenge, is to make ourselves redundant and move on at the right time and leave these younger coaches just take it to the next step. So they've got a body of work there, whether they're coaching an actual team or they're running a program, that develops these kids, or players, I should say. They're not kids, all of them.
Yeah, no, it's I like that idea of, I guess, creating like a legacy, so things don't kind of, I guess, fall by the wayside, but actually build up as the years go on. I was just taking a quick look at the the rankings with the IIHF, and of course, men's at the moment, talking Ice Blacks are currently 39th in the world. In comparison, the Aussies 35th, and then on the women's side of things, the Ice Ferns are 32nd, and the Australian team 29th. That's the 2020 rankings. Of course, we haven't really had much competition since then. So, COVID kind of has been a blessing in a sense that, the NZIHF has been able to really put a lot of time, effort, and money into these sort of programs. One thing that really stands out to me, if you look on those New Zealand national team jerseys, on the inside collar, you've got Aki Aki Kia Kaha, which is be strong forever. So in your eyes, how does that mantra kind of apply to this with the Triple Star program and the way you're starting to operate now?
Yeah, well, I think because it is new, the expectation is I suppose, we're open-minded, but really what we're trying to do is build that sense of pride and identity that we are New Zealand players. You alluded to the rankings. If I use the Ice Blacks as an example, that 39th ranking is the same ranking when I finished at age 36, quite some time ago. And, is the team better than when I played? Yeah, of course it's better, but everyone else is better too. And I suppose what we've really focused on, if we look at the real stuff that we're trying to do here, we're trying to build a world-class hockey program, Logan. And that doesn't mean we're going to the Olympics. That means that we're building a New Zealand-focused, what we need program we can be proud of. And coupled with that, we really are hoping that the players will see that energy being put in, and we're listening to them as well. A lot of this is about listening. And they will have a lot of pride and really want to do their best for New Zealand. I'm not saying they're not doing that now, but sometimes we've had to act as silos just out of necessity. And I suppose what we've really been doing is centralizing things through the federation. Over time, at times people have thought, well, what the hell does the federation do? Well, we can very clearly say, as being part of the federation, we're doing as best we can, and we're going to do more. And it is a player-centric kind of model. And there is a difference because I think because we see the NHL and we see all these great players in Europe and stuff, our expectation, and it's natural, we want to be like that. We want to have a piece of that, but we're not. And it doesn't mean that we can't be great players, given time. But what we have to realize is that's kind of a selection-based program. If you look at Canadian system, for example, it is purely 600 and something thousand players, and Crosby comes out. Or, obviously, Conor McDavid is the new cheese and what have you. So that just happens because it got numbers. But we have 2,000 players. So if you look at Germany, what they follow is sort of a development program rather than a selection program, because their numbers are 8,000 or 9,000 or something. Actually, 26,000, I think. So they have a small number, but they compete with the top 5, 6 teams in the world. Not saying that we will do that, but I do know that if we follow this mantra, player-centric, building a world-class program, and we are making sure that there's a place for everyone in hockey, not just the best player on the bench, and that we play everyone that's on the bench, especially at youth hockey, we'll have more players, more competition. The buy-in comes from people seeing that. You don't have to talk about it if they see it. And then I think they have a lot of pride. They will have more pride or more desire to actually be part of that New Zealand program moving forward at the national team level, and ultimately better results for us,
One thing I wanted to touch on, because, video is such an integral part of my life, and it does play into coaching as well. We've seen, I know Anatoly Korozov is big on his video. I know that for a fact. Travis Krikard, he came into the NZIHL a couple of years ago after his time with the Kelowna Rockets, and that's where he really honed his skills as a video coach, and he brought that with him to the Botany Swarm. How much does I don't know if this is part of what you do, but how much does video analysis play into the way these New Zealand teams are coached, and is there scope for more in the future?
Yeah, I think Anatoly is a good example who uses video consistently, and apologies if I've missed someone here. He's probably the only one I know that does use it regularly. And I suppose the big challenge around that is a little bit of skill and also resource and time. So we have had discussions at the federation level around, and this is what might come out of the Triple Star camp. If we have a leader or someone who's in charge of our video analysis, there's no reason in this day and age you can't be analysing video remotely from New Zealand. Yes, there's time differences and stuff, but you could have a centralised system really that gives coaches access to that. To your point, do we use video outside of that? Yeah, to be honest, you'll probably laugh, but at Pee Wee level, I've used video. There's nothing. Whether it's a kid who's...
That's awesome, though. I bet, the kids probably love to see the video.
That's the world we live in.
And,
just an iPhone or an iPad and just a quick snap, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. It's way better than a coach rabbiting on about technique when a kid can see it and you just give them 2 or 3 pointers, and they can start to work it out themselves. You can store that video. You can do, you can do multiple things. So I think the scope for using technology in general, Logan, is huge, and how we deliver not only to the players but to the coaches.
Just lastly, we usually ask this question to current players, but I think it would be great to get someone with your stature and experience to kind of share their thoughts on this as well. With a program like Triple Star, where do you realistically hope to see New Zealand hockey in, say, like 10 years' time?
Okay, it's a really good question. It's something that we probably talk about a lot. And so what is realistic? So when you talk a little bit about Helen Murray, and it'd be great if the New Zealand team went to the next division, it would be. But you've got to stay there. That is the key. And if you look at history in the IIHF, it is littered with countries that get lucky, they get a group together and they get 2 to 5 years of something, and then all of a sudden what happens? South Africa is actually an example of that if you look back in history, and they're below us now, struggling at most of the levels. So I think realistically for us, if we're in 2B, we should be aiming for 2A. Right, we should be aiming to be in 2A and competing for a medal in 10 years. But I think in 5 years, we should be in 2A. That's what we should be aiming for. And not just at the ice pack level. To make the program sustainable, we need to be really thinking about how can we get our under 18s and our U20s there too. And so it sounds easy. Hockey, unfortunately, is not a sprint. It's a bit of a marathon. And it's a simple game, but it's bloody complex. And learning those skills, as we can all attest to. So we have to be patient with that. And I think if you're always focused on the gold medal, if I say it's the gold medal, you're setting up for failure a little bit, because if that's the measure of everything, and it is in our society, I understand that, but if you balance that a little bit more with, okay, is success for us that we have 3,000 players in 10 years, or in 5 years actually would be a nice number, and we have 4,500, say, in 10 years. Well, those numbers, if we've got a world-class hockey program, we're going to get to those divisions, no question about it, when we get to that kind of player pool.
So thanks again to Darren Blong for taking the time to chat with us on Puck Here Podcast. Joe, I'm really excited about these men's and women's camps. I do think they're a pretty good idea to, get the representative players of all the age groups together, get all, mentorship going, kind of creating like this. I mean, I know we have camaraderie, but I feel like something like this will really help and sort of build up, I guess, the thing that Darren was really talking about and building up was trying to create the sense of pride in playing for New Zealand and wearing that jersey.
Yeah, and I think it's also getting the pride about the other national teams. So making, if you have the Ice Blacks and the Ice Ferns all together in a group, in a community, it means that the Ice Blacks care about what happens in that Ice Ferns group. They want them to succeed. They want to help them as much as they can. and having the under 18s and the under 20s as well in that group, it kind of bit of fostering and mentoring with those older players that hope to grow those younger guys through the ranks and then have them as their line mate or their D partner or something down the line in the future.
Yeah, one thing I found really interesting that Darren had to say, because we do typically when we interview a player, you heard it recently when we revisited the interview with Helen Murray and we talked about where she wants to see hockey in 5-10 years. I threw that question at him, but with the tag of realism, because we can all say this is what we want. I'm like, but what can we realistically achieve with something like the Triple Star program? And interestingly enough, talking about not so much going for the gold medals, but trying to really build up that talent pool and that development so that they're feeding the different teams for years on end. And hopefully they get to that point where they do knock on the door and bust through to the higher divisions in the IIHF, but don't just bounce back and forward, which can really hurt a team, but actually stay there and compete.
Yeah, you don't want to be yo-yoing between the divisions because that just kind of screws you. And once you lose a core group, then that you could fall even further, which is not what we want. We want to get a foothold in a position and be either medaling or challenging for medals in that higher division every time. And I think what we've noticed in the many interviews that we've done since we've come back is there seems to be a clear agreement on the direction of the Federation and Hockey New Zealand as a whole to get pathways in for young kids to stay in the game, want to keep playing beyond that 19, 20, 21 age group where they just eventually disappear and then we lose that talent. So I think it's all positive from what we're hearing from the Federation, and hopefully in 5 or 10 years the plans that they've set about come to fruition.
Yeah, here's hoping, because they are saying they're already seeing some positives, like player drop off, dwindling a little bit, and then also they've got the youth camps that have been going on for a little while already, like in Christchurch. For instance, the numbers are growing there. Not only just players, but more coaches come on board and sign up and want to get involved. So that's really awesome to hear that we have this community that is growing and people want to get involved and learn and want to be better, so that at the end of the day, New Zealand's game improves to a higher level. So, time will only tell, of course, but, they are saying some good things. We'll support it as much as we can, but we'll call things out as well. If there's something that we think is probably not doing so well, we did... I mentioned on last week's podcast that I don't think the NZIHF is doing enough to promote women's hockey. I think the women's camp is a really good step in the right direction, but I don't think it's enough yet. And we did get quite a favorable response on our social medias from players and management and stuff as well. I'm not going to name names, but it is really cool to hear that other people do feel that way and that they're seeing that. So hopefully we will see more improvement on that side of things, because there's just so much talent in New Zealand that we could really grow and build up. Speaking of talent, Joe.
One other thing I want to say is I like that Harry was he was talking about how he was doing video coaching with his peewees, which I think is pretty cool. Like being a little peewee kid and then being able to watch your skating or whatever on video, and because everyone with an iPhone now, you can film some pretty good stuff. I think that's pretty cool, and for kids that are on devices and tablets and video so much now, I think it is a natural step. It's not too crazy to be able to watch your own performance as a youngster. If it makes you want to do it more, then it's a good thing.
Yeah, totally. I can imagine, a little kid getting an absolute kick out of seeing themselves. I bet probably now with just how much access people have to hockey highlights and everything now, they probably really break down things like power plays and whatnot, and they, trying from a much earlier age to really improve on those kind of things. So, thanks again to Darren for taking that time. But before we wrap up the show, Joe, really quickly, I want to go through the BHL All-Stars. Were announced. There's also an FHL All-Stars game, but we picked up on the BHL because there's a lot of recognizable names for people that follow the podcast and are also big fans of the NZIHL.
Yeah, it's almost basically an Ice Blacks trial when you look at it. If you look at the names that are in there, there's a couple of long-serving NZIHL guys in there, but the first kind of two lines of each team are in your Ice Blacks core, and then you've got the great coaching skills on the bench of Punchy and myself, which I'm sure will give the Frozen Lake team the win for sure.
Yeah, we did. We actually put. I'm going to bring it up now, just really quickly. We
How's
did
the
a
poll going? How's the poll going?
Yeah, we did a poll on our Instagram to see who would win the Backyard Conference, which features players like Jake Ratcliffe. We got some messages from people that have sort of been following our coverage of his career, being like, "Oh man, I'm really glad that they're going to be a live stream of this game, which is going to be on Pucky's YouTube, and it'll also be on the Hockey House NZ YouTube. So keep an eye out for both. I'm pretty sure that game is actually happening while I'm in the air flying to Auckland. So if anything goes down with the live stream, I may not be in a position to fix it. Although apparently there's going to be Wi-Fi on the plane.
Oh, there you go. You can tune in.
Okay, actually, no, funny story real quickly. When I went to, this is crazy. When I went to Paris with The Crowd Goes Wild with our friend James McConey, the flight had what?
You flew.
The flight had Wi-Fi.
First class.
We flew first class, baby.
Don't neglect that fact. You flew first class all the way to Paris
and back.
Yeah.
And I believe on the flight back, I'm pretty sure McConey was just like, "Man, you're really dedicated to this hockey stuff." But I was helping. I think there was some problems with the live streams, and I was actually able to get onto YouTube. I don't know where I was in the world, where the plane was, but I was able to make sure that the live stream got up and running. So probably I may be able to do it flying across the Tasman Sea, who knows? But that game will be live streamed both on our YouTube channel and the Hockey House NZ. So make sure you watch that. So you do see guys like Jake Ratcliffe and plenty more talent. Of course, Nick Craig, Nick Henderson, Justin Daig, Stephen Mawson, Michael Atwell, Blake Jackson. That team is stacked, honestly.
And that's just the defense.
That's just the back. Yeah. That's just the defense. You got Finlay Forbes and Mikey Robinson as well. Hopkinson, not Robinson. And Frozen Lake boys. I mean, Reed Cole is a name that Punchy keeps mentioning to me, so I'll definitely be watching out for that. And then, of course, Stephen Hewish, Jordan Chalice, Alex Polozov, Matt Taylor, AJ Spiller, Ian Wanamaker, massive friend of the show. That's awesome to see. And then in the goalies, Matt Cannaday, who people that follow from Dunedin will remember that name. And then, of course, Grace Harrison. So there's a lot of talent there. Joe, don't screw this up.
Hey, I think, like I said earlier, my role is just going to be handing the scout sauce to Punchy, and then just opening the gate and letting the D-men just pile out and closing it. Basically, a grocery stick in the middle of the bench. And I'm fine with that. I know my role.
You know your role. So just quickly, the poll. Final result here, it's only got about probably not an hour left. 54% are saying the Backyard Conference All-Stars are going to win. How do you feel about that? It's going to be close.
I need to get on voting. I need to get voting again. I've already voted. I'm going to have to go and start different accounts. I'll start a few different accounts. And
you can't rig this shit, Joe. You can't rig this shit. But yeah, that's going to be awesome. It is free to watch, free to attend at Paradise Avondale, the Avondale Square Gardens, March 27. Puck drop is 4:15 p.m. So go along, check that out. Support the league because, obviously it's a really fun league. They try to do a lot to really build hockey up in the Auckland region. So make sure you check that out. But Joe, that's it for me in Australia. Podcasting in Australia.
It's over. Next time we're on the air, you'll be in this studio with me.
Oh, and it just, honestly, it makes such a huge difference. Like, it really does. Listening back to that interview with Helen Murray, I was like, it's just so much better being in the same room.
I can't wait. I can't wait, buddy. I can't wait to see you, Sarah, and your little one in the flesh for the first time ever.
Yeah. It'll be great. I can't wait to catch up with a lot of people that listen to the podcast and support us. We really appreciate everything that you guys do to keep Puck Here going and spreading the word. Again, make sure you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to get the episodes first. We are also on YouTube, and you can hit us up on Instagram and Facebook at PuckYearNZ. Until then, until I'm back in New Zealand, I'm Logan. That's Joe. We'll see you again soon.
See ya.